Hey guys, tonight we begin with a tale that unfolds like a slow creak in the floorboards of an old house, a story that wraps itself around your mind like mist at midnight. You're gonna meet someone tonight, someone impossibly tall, someone who shouldn't be real, but has appeared in whispers, newspaper clippings, security footage, and fading memories across generations. You might be standing in a garden one summer evening, cicadas humming lazily, your drink sweating in your hand. You think you see something tall at the edge of the field. You blink, it's gone. And just as your nerves settle, you hear it. That slow, unnatural sound, po, 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 drifting on the wind like a child's mockery. You look again, there's nothing. But you already know you probably wouldn't make it out of this one. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? And what time is it where you are? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're in a sleepy countryside town, the kind with no traffic lights and only one vending machine that still carries glass bottles. It's late, and you're staying with your grandparents just for the summer. Fireflies flicker beyond the sliding doors, and the warm tatami mats beneath your feet smell like sun-dried straw and old stories. That's when your cousin starts talking about her, not like she's a monster, not even like she's a ghost, just like she's real. And she says the name like a secret, Hachishakusama. You laugh, you think she's teasing, but your grandmother suddenly goes very still. She's back? Your grandmother whispers. You've never seen her like this, kneeling by the old altar, already lighting incense. That night, you hear the sound, po, po, po. It doesn't come from the hallway, not from the forest. It comes from everywhere, like the walls themselves are trying to hum. The next morning, a boy from town is missing. His bicycle is found by the rice paddies, the handlebars bent, the basket full of gifts for his sister's birthday untouched. You're told not to go out after sunset. Of course you do. There's a garden at the back of the property, quiet, overgrown. You sit there with a book, pretending not to look at the trees. You want to see her. You don't want to see her. You convince yourself it's all just local flavor, a bedtime scare tactic. Then a breeze picks up. It's warm, but you shiver. The wind doesn't blow the trees, it just moves through them, like a breath in reverse. And you see her. At first, you mistake her for a tree trunk. That's how still she is. Tall, silhouetted by the falling dusk. Her white dress doesn't flutter in the breeze. Her hat is too wide, too old-fashioned, like something from a century ago. And her faceit, she has onis lost in the shadow beneath its brim. You don't scream, you just go cold. Something ancient inside you knows, do not make a sound. Then, very softly, she tilts her head. Po, po, po. You blink and she's gone. You run inside. You tell your cousin. She doesn't laugh. Instead, she brings out 4 paper charms, salt, an old mirror, a tiny bell. She says, "We're going to the shrine tomorrow," before she chooses you. You ask what that means. She says, "You're already marked." Now, here's the strange part. This exact story child sees the tall woman, hears the sound, and is chosen, exists in dozens of towns. Some say she only appears to boys. Others insist she stalks anyone who dares speak her name. In one Okinawan version, she cries like a child to lure victims out of their homes. In Nagano, they say she mimics voices, calling for help in the rain. But the details? Almost always the same. White dress, wide-brimmed hat, over 8 feet tall, and that sound like a broken lullaby echoing through a foggy tunnel. Po, po, po. No one agrees on what she is. A spirit? A curse? A punishment? There's a theory, odd but persistent, that she was once human, a woman taken from her village long ago. She grew so tall from grief, and wandered too far into the spirit world, where her soul stretched like fabric soaked in sorrow. Other whispers claim she's not alone, that she's one of several sky-broken women each trapped in different regions, cursed to walk until the children stop calling their names in playground games. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Tonight, you sleep with the salt by the window. The mirror faces out. The little bell trembles with each breeze. You don't see her again, not yet, but you dream of her hat, floating like a moon above the grass. And in the distance, po, 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 you wake up with a start. The bell by the window is silent now, still as a spider web in the morning light. No breeze, no sound, just the long, hollow quiet that hangs in the air after something leaves, or waits. Your cousin's already awake. She's packed a bag with little charms and snacks, like you're going on a picnic. Except this isn't a picnic. You're going to the old shrine outside of town, the one barely anyone talks about anymore. It's not on maps. Your grandparents don't like to drive past it, and the only path is half swallowed by trees. But there's something about the way your cousin moves like she's done this before. You follow her. The path to the shrine isn't paved. It winds through tall grass and forgotten memories. Trees lean in too close, and for a moment, you swear you see movement behind one. But when you look, it's just a twisted branker, maybe a skirt hem, vanishing into shadow. At the shrine, the air feels wrong. Not heavy exactly, just bent, like space itself is holding its breath. There's a rusted bell rope and wooden steps coated in moss. Your cousin doesn't ring the bell. She places the mirror at the base of the altar and begins muttering something under her breath. You catch only a few words. Don't look up, don't answer, don't run. You ask what happens if she picks you. She doesn't respond. Suddenly, you hear it behind the trees. Po, po, po. You spin around. Nothing there. No wind, no birds, no cousin. You're alone. You call out, but your voice sounds muffled, like it's swallowed by the fog that has somehow rolled in from nowhere. You back toward the altar. The bell above you trembles. Then, she steps out. 8 feet tall, wide-brimmed hat, white dress floating just above the ground. You can't see her face, just the impossibly long fingers brushing the prayer posts as she moves. She doesn't rush, she doesn't speak, just that sound. Po, po, po. You close your eyes, and then a hand grabs yours. It's your cousin. She yanks you down the path, half dragging you as she whispers, "Don't turn around. Don't look. She's curious now." You run. Back through the woods, past the crooked trees. You don't remember the turns. You only remember the sound following you fainter now, but still there. Po, po, po. When you make it back to the house, your grandmother is waiting at the door. She doesn't speak, just lights another stick of incense and mutters something too fast to follow. You don't sleep that night, and in the morning, the neighbor's cat is found curled in a circle on the porch, lifeless, its eyes open, staring upward. Now, here's where things begin to branch. In certain prefectures, the story changes. The shrine isn't a place of protection, it's her home. Children are told not to go there, not because it wards her off, but because they might interrupt her dreaming. In one such tale from Shizuoka, a boy who enters the shrine disappears completely, leaving behind only a pile of salt and a faint odor like rain-soaked wood. And yet in Hokkaido, there's an entirely different take. Locals believe that the tall woman is not inherently evil. Instead, they see her as a spirit who only takes children already fated to die, those who would have fallen to illness, accident, or sadness. Her presence, they say, is a mercy, but no one agrees on what the sound means. Some folklorists believe the po, po, po is a vocal mimicry, something she picked up from the world of the living, distorted through centuries of isolation. Others think it's an echo from another realm, something not meant to be heard by human ears at all. There's even an oddly modern theory, a popular urban tale, that says she isn't supernatural at all. but part of a failed experiment in sonic weaponry during the post-war years. Something about a voice frequency meant to disable enemy troops, tested too far inland, absorbed by something it shouldn't have touched. That version is rare, but persistent among older folks who remember things differently. What never changes, however, is this. Once you hear her, she's already seen you. Your cousin says it again that night, just before bed. She doesn't forget, and you begin to notice the signs. The way the crows seem to follow you now, always in pairs. How your reflection in the bathroom mirror sometimes lags. The flickering of lights, the hush in the trees. The way your dreams always end in the garden. You ask your grandmother how long this lasts. She just says, until she chooses someone else. Days pass, but they don't feel like days. Time begins to fold around you in strange ways. Morning comes late, evenings stretch too long. The cicadas stop humming when you step outside. You feel watch not in the way that makes your skin crawl, but in the way that makes your bones go still. Like something is studying you from behind a veil of wind. Your cousin tells you about the rules. The old ones. You must never answer your name if it's called from outside after sunset. You must never look directly at her shadow. And if you hear the sound 3 times in a row, that's when she's closest. Po, po, po. You try to distract yourself. Books, games, walks. But everywhere you go, there's a hum in the air, a pressure, like someone too tall is peering over your shoulder. Then, one evening, you walk past the house next door, the one that's been empty for years. Its windows are cloudy with dust, curtains frozen mid-sway from some forgotten breeze. And you see her, just for a moment, in the second-story window, standing still, hat tilted, face obscured, too tall to belong in that room, too still to be living. You freeze. She doesn't move. You blink. She's gone. You don't remember walking home, just the smell of dust and salt in the air. That night, your grandmother tells you a story. Not like she's telling a bedtime tale, but like she's remembering something. When I was a girl, she begins, there was a boy named Hiro. Bright, curious, always climbing things. One summer, he said he saw a woman at the edge of the field. He described the hat, the dress, the way she didn't quite walk, more like she glided. You wait. What happened to him? She doesn't answer for a long time. His parents sent him to stay with relatives far away. They did everything right. Salt, mirrors, prayers. And one morning they found his shoes by the shrine. That's all. It's always the same. The shoes, the mirror that cracks for no reason, the slow, gentle hum of something old and watching. Now, here's where local variants become especially fascinating and strange. In Yamanashi, there's a tale where the woman appears not as a ghost but as a statuone that changes position ever so slightly each night. Children walk by it every day to school, and one by one, they begin to vanish. Only when the statue is moved does the disappearances stop, but only until it reappears in another part of town. Meanwhile, in Chiba, a softer version tells of her as a guardian. There, she is known as Nagai Onathe Long Woman, and she appears not to take children, but to warn them. Her towering form is a symbol of protection from darker spirits, and children are told to leave her small flowers, which sometimes vanish overnight. But not everyone agrees with this comforting twist. Some folklorists argue that the dual nature of her legend, protective in some regions, terrifying in others, points to a much older origin. A pre-modern goddess, perhaps, forgotten and fragmented by time, broken into fear and comfort like the moon sliced by clouds. And then there's the theory that always comes up in hushed tones. She's not one ghost, she's many. A kind of spirit virus, an idea so powerful, so vivid, that it replicates in stories, dreams, drawings. Wherever the tale is told, she takes root, grows, waits. One case often brought up is from a girl in Fukuoka. In her diary discovered after she vanished, she had drawn a tall woman with a blank face nearly 50 times. In each sketch, the woman gets closer. The final drawing is just the brim of the hat. Police said it was obsession, psychosis. But one line from the diary still circulates in paranormal forums today. She's real if you believe in her, and once you do, she believes in you too. That line keeps echoing in your mind as the days drag on. You start to notice things shifting in the house. Your slippers are moved. The bell charm rings once every night at exactly 3:33 a.m. The salt you left by the door is clumped, damp, like it's been disturbed by a breath. Your cousin has stopped talking about her. She's quieter now. Her eyes flick to every shadow. You find her one morning burning a piece of paper in the sink. She says it was a drawing she made when she was 7. She came close then, she whispers. There's one more thing she tells you. If you see her during the day, it means she's tired of waiting. That evening, you glance out the kitchen window while washing your hands. And there she is, standing in the garden, not hiding, not moving, just watching. You count the sounds in your head. Po, po, po. 3. The air in the house thickens after that. Not with heat, exactly, but with something stranger. Like the air itself is no longer yours to breathe. Every wooden floorboard creaks just a little louder. The refrigerator hum sounds off-key. Even the wind through the trees seems to carry a rhythm now. You're starting to understand what your cousin meant. Because once you see her during the day, you can't unsee her. You try to talk to your grandmother again. Ask if she's sure this isn't all just story-exaggerated bedtime tales for kids who won't listen. She listens patiently, nods, then opens an old drawer from her bedroom. Inside is a bundle of photos, black and white, faded, cracked around the edges. She flips through them and stops at one. A photo of a group of school children, smiling outside a wooden building, all lined up in neat rows. But behind them, near the tree line, is a shadow taller than the fence. Out of focus, barely there. But once you see the outline of that wide hat, you can't unsee it. She was watching us then too, your grandmother says. You want to ask more, but she changes the subject, offers you tea, lights another stick of incense, the kind of shift that says, this conversation is over. That night, you try not to sleep. You tell yourself you'll stay awake. You leave the light on. You place a mirror at the foot of your bed. Still, you wake up in the middle of the night. The mirror is cracked, the bell is missing, and the door is open. You don't remember leaving it open. You call for your cousin, but she's not in her futon. You search the hallway, the bathroom, the porch, and finally, the back garden. She's there, standing perfectly still, not facing you, just still. You step closer, heart thudding. Hey, you whisper, trying not to sound scared. She turns slowly, and you realize it's not her. The figure turns fully white dress, blank face, brimmed hat. Her body seems to bend slightly in the middle, as if she's too tall for this world and has to fold herself to fit. Then she leans toward you. No breath, no sound. Just the pressure of her presence, like gravity failing in every direction at once. Po, po, po. You fall backward, scrambling to your feet. The figure flickers, like a dying light bulb, then disappears. You don't sleep for the rest of the night. When the sun rises, your cousin is back in her bed. She doesn't remember leaving. You don't ask questions. Now, in certain villages, especially those in the south, they say that if you see her standing in someone else's body, that person is already gone. A kind of borrowed skin, just temporary, just long enough to get close. In these versions, people who vanish are said to burn from the inside, not with fire, but with silence. They stop talking, they stop eating, they begin to hum. Others say she doesn't borrow bodies. She simply casts duplicates projections she molds from memory to test how close she can get without you running. But none of these stories agree on what happens if you talk to her. Some say she disappears, others say she speaks back, mimicking your voice with perfect, terrible precision. And then there's the story of the boy from Saitama. He was dared by his classmates to go to the forest after dark. He laughed, said he didn't believe in ghosts. He brought a flashlight and a video camera, even wore a GoPro, said he'd make a vlog and post it. They never found him, but they did find the camera. Not on the ground, but on his front porch, neatly placed, battery dead. The footage showed him laughing, joking, pointing out random shadows. Then, silence. No scream, no chase, just a single, too-tall figure stepping from the trees. Then static. Some who watched it said they saw something else in the final frame. A face reflected in the camera lens, not his, not hers, just something blank, like a mask of skin stretched too tight over a wrong-shaped skull. That video was removed from every platform within hours, but screen captures still circulate. One of them shows the boy's face, frozen in terror, just before it cuts. And behind him, behind his shoulder, is a hand that doesn't quite connect to an arm. You start keeping a diary. Not because you think it'll help, but because you need something to prove you're still you, that your thoughts are still yours. The first few entries are normal. Observations, dates, a weird dream here and there. But around the fifth night, your handwriting changes, grows tighter, slanted. You don't remember writing certain parts. One line just reads, "She watches from corners you can't clean." Another says, "Salt slows her, but doesn't stop her." Your cousin finds the notebook and reads it quietly. She says, "She's getting closer." You nod, because you already know. There's no mistaking that feeling anymore. The low hum in your bones, the stretching of your shadow at night, the way your voice echoes slightly, even when you're alone. You start counting the corners in your room, not for fun, not out of boredom, but because the air feels heavier in one of them, always the same one, the top right corner above the wardrobe. It's dark, even when the light is on. It shouldn't be dark. There's nothing there. No vent, no draft, no stain, just shadow. But the longer you stare at it, the more it stares back. You try to tell yourself it's nothing. You move your futon away from it. You even tape a charm to the ceiling. But one night, you wake up facing that corner, and the charm is on the floor, torn in half, like something long and gentle peeled it away. That's when your cousin tells you it's time. Time to meet the monks. You think it's a joke at first. Monks? Really? But she's serious. There's a temple on the far edge of town, one that doesn't take visitors, doesn't advertise. It's said to be older than the roads themselves. And the men who live there, they've seen her, faced her. Some of them still wear bandages. The temple is quiet, covered in vines. No bell, no gate, just a path that feels like it's been walked by generations of scared children and desperate parents. The monks don't smile. They ask your name. They ask your age. Then they ask how many times you've heard it. You pause. 3, maybe 4. One of them flinches. They bring you into a room with low light and strange symbols written across the walls in chalk. One sits in front of you with a bowl of salt. Another places a mirror behind you. And then they begin to chant. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But the sound vibrates in your chest, like something deep inside you recognizes it. They tell you to stay still, not to blink. The mirror begins to fog. The salt starts to sizzle. And from somewhere just outside the door, you hear it. Po, po, po. Soft, deliberate, like someone testing the acoustics of your fear. You don't move, but your eyes drawn like magnets shift slightly toward the hallway. She's standing there, not in shadow, not hidden, just standing. The monks keep chanting. One of them begins to sweat. Another's voice cracks, and slowly, her hat dips, not like a nod, like she's recognizing you. Again, like she already knows your name, has known it for a while, and then just like that, she's gone. No footsteps, no breeze, just the echo of her absence. The salt is blackened, the mirror is cracked, and the monks? They say nothing. They just hand you a slip of paper and whisper, "Keep this with you. Don't fold it. Don't let it get wet." You don't ask what happens if it does. This ritual for monks, a bowl of salt, a mirror is part of a lesser-known strand of the legend. Not all versions include it, but in central Japan, it's passed around in quiet warnings between generations. The ritual doesn't banish her. It doesn't even weaken her. It simply buys you time. It's said to draw her curiosity away, just long enough for you to leave the region. But that's the catch: you must leave. If you stay, the ritual wears off. And she always remembers. One theory says the monks aren't chanting prayers but reminders. They're telling her what she used to be, what she left behind, in hopes she'll turn away from what she's become. But there's disagreement. Some believe the ritual feeds her, that the salt, the sound, the mirror, it amplifies her strength, makes her more curious, and those who seek the monks are simply drawing more attention to themselves. Either way, people continue to visit. One elderly monk never named Dance told a local newspaper that the tall woman is not a ghost, not a demon, but a forgotten echo. A memory of a woman who once asked for help and was ignored. He didn't elaborate. He died a week later, quietly, in his sleep. They say his room smelled of ash and mildew. Back at the house, your cousin is waiting with packed bags. "We need to go," she says. Your grandmother doesn't argue. You ask, "Will she follow?" Your cousin answers too quickly. She doesn't need to. You leave the town before sunrise. The roads are quiet. The sky still gray-blue. You don't look back. You try not to think about the fact that your mirror is cracked, or that the paper in your pocket feels heavier now. You sleep for most of the trip, but in your dream, you see her, standing at the side of the road. She doesn't wave. She doesn't speak. She just watches, as if to say, "You're not done yet." Your new surroundings don't help. It's a bigger town, wider streets, brighter lights, fewer trees scratching at the windows, but the feeling doesn't fade. The air still carries that hush, like something waiting for you to exhale before it moves. You stay with your aunt now, in a 2-story house that smells like laundry detergent and lemon-scented floor polish. Nothing like your grandparents' home. Here, everything is modern, safe. There's a convenience store 2 blocks away, a vending machine that speaks, a big screen TV mounted on the wall. But even in this place, where everything is supposed to be clean and normal and rational, you wake up the first night to a sound you hoped you'd left behind. Po, po, po. You jolt upright, but it's not coming from outside. It's coming from your phone. The screen is black, but the speaker is on, emitting that hollow, deliberate rhythm, as if something dialed in, just to remind you. You throw the phone across the room. Your aunt finds it the next morning under the couch, the screen cracked. You lie and say you dropped it. She doesn't ask questions. That day, you search online, desperately, trying to understand how she could have followed. You find forums, blog posts, cryptic message boards from over a decade ago. People describing the exact same thing. She moved with me. She called my landline. I left the country. She came anyway. And then this post, anonymous, no reply. She's not bound by place. She's bound by attention. If you remember her, she remembers you. This is where the modern variations of Hachishakusama's legend begin to surface. In older versions, she's always tied to the land of spirit that haunts a particular region, usually rural, usually wooded. But in more recent tellings, especially after the mid-2000s, she becomes more fluid. She appears in cities, in apartments, on subways. Some say the rise of technology pulled her in. There's one well-known story from Osaka, circa 2009. A girl received an email with no subject, no body, just an attachment, a photo of a blurry, tall woman standing at a school gate. A few days later, she started hearing the sound. Her friends said she changed, grew quiet. Her phone calls became static-filled. Then, she disappeared. Her last voicemail was nothing but humming. In another account, a boy live-streamed from his bedroom, joking about the legend. He laughed, mocked the stories, read creepypasta aloud. Then the stream went dark. His channel remained live-only, showing an empty room. No explanation, no goodbye, just the slow creak of a door swinging open in the background. To this day, that stream reappears from time to time, under different usernames. Back in your aunt's house, things start shifting again. The paper from the monks, the one you were told never to fold, is no longer flat. It has creases now, as if someone had pressed it between long fingers. You didn't fold it. You swear you didn't. One morning you notice the salt you left by the bedroom door is gone. Not spilled, not swept, just gone, like it was lifted. You check the mirrors. No cracks, but there's a smudgerite in the center, shaped vaguely like a fingertip, high up, too high for anyone in the house. You clean it. You don't sleep that night. Your cousin calls, says she's been dreaming again. She's closer now, she tells you, voice low. She doesn't always need to show up. Sometimes she just waits behind things. Behind things. That phrase sticks with you. You start checking. Behind the shower curtain, behind the closet door, behind the long, heavy curtain in the living room. One day, while home alone, you hear a sound from the hallway. You know that sound. That slow, hollow rhythm. Po, po, po. You peek from the top of the stairs. Nothing. But the mirror by the front door, the one your aunt polishes every Saturday's, fogged over. Just the center. Just enough to blur the face of whoever was standing there. In some rare accounts, she doesn't even show herself. She becomes habitual, a pattern, a presence. One theory claims she's attracted not just to children but to anxiety, that she thrives on fear, that she adapts to new minds, shifting her behavior to match the things that make us feel most watched, most small. It's said she has a way of slipping into dreams, appearing as someone comforting at first apparent, a sibling only for her height to slowly change, her arms to grow longer, her voice to flatten into that too familiar rhythm. Some say this is how she tests her grip on you. If you run in the dream, she waits. If you stand still, she follows. And if you speak, that's when she enters. No one agrees on what that means, but they all agree on this. After that dream, you stop dreaming altogether. You stop sleeping. Not fully. You nap. You drift. But something inside you stays awake, watches the corners, monitors the dark glass, listens for the hum. You walk past the mirror in the hallway one morning and swear you see a second reflection. Not beside you, not behind you, above you. Just for a moment. Too tall, too still. You blink and it's gone. But now, the mirror is cracked. Right down the middle. And the smudge is back. You're at school now. New town, new building, new people, but none of it feels real. The classrooms hum with fluorescent lights. Teachers write words you don't hear. Students talk around you like you're a piece of scenery. It's not their fault. You've become quieter, more watchful. You sit by the window, always the window, because you know she prefers windows. The old story goes, if you see her face reflected in the glass, it means she's already inside. You haven't seen her face yet, but every now and then, when the classroom is still and everyone's heads are bent over their notebooks, you see a flicker in the glass. Not outside, not inside, just in the glass. Like someone pacing back and forth in a space that doesn't exist. You blink. Gone. You look again. The curtain sways, ever so slightly. There's a boy in your class, quiet like you. He draws in the margins of his books strange things, towering shapes, People with no faces. You finally speak to him one afternoon during cleanup duty. Is that her? He doesn't look up. You hear it too? That's how you know. He tells you he's been followed since he was 8. First in his hometown, then again when they moved. He's lived in 4 prefectures. She's always found him. I stopped trying to run, he says. Now I just keep her busy. You ask what that means. He pulls something from his pocket, a string of bells, tiny ones rusted. He shakes them lightly. She hates these. Later that night, you find yourself staring at the hallway again. You don't hear the sound, but you feel it, like an itch in the back of your mind, like a vibration in your teeth. Poe? Just 1. You close your eyes. Poe. 2. You whisper a prayer you barely remember learning. Poe. 3. You don't move, don't speak. Then silence. And in that silence, you realize you've stopped breathing. Now, let's talk about the mirror games. In several regional legends, especially around Kyoto and Nara, mirrors are considered dangerous once she's chosen you. Not because she appears in them, though that happens, too, but because she uses them. One tale from a junior high school in Kyoto tells of a girl who covered her bedroom mirror after claiming she saw the woman step out from it, mid-dream. Her family thought it was stress. But the next morning, her mirror had fogged from the inside. The tape had been peeled away in long, slow strips. She was found sleepwalking a week later on the rooftop of the school, her eyes wide open, her voice repeating the same 3 syllables. Poe, Poe, Poe. She didn't remember any of it. Another case describes a game called Shako, which involves 3 hand mirrors and a name spoken backward. The rules are vague, and most who've tried it either joke about its failure or refuse to talk at all. But there's a pattern. Those who attempt it often begin hearing the sound, and once you hear the 3rd syllable, the mirrors are supposed to crack. Every one of them. One girl reported waking to find her closet door open and 3 broken mirrors lined up on the floor. She moved schools shortly after. Back in your aunt's house, you notice the family photos are turning. Not all at once. Just slowly, a few degrees each day. The frames that used to face the hallway now face the wall, or the ceiling, or the mirror. You ask your aunt, and she frowns. Maybe the house is settling, but you know better. She's shifting your reflection, changing what sees you. And one morning, when you walk past the kitchen window, you catch a flicker of white. A dress. Too long, too still. You back up, look again. Nothing. But there's a small wet spot beneath the window. Not rain, not spilled water, just dampness, like something stood there too long. That night, you take out the monk's paper again. It's completely smooth now. No folds, no marks, but it feels heavier, like it's soaked in something invisible, like it's holding more than ink. There's one more story your classmate tells you. It's about a town that no longer exists on any map. In the 1950s, there was a village known for its unusually high number of missing persons, specifically children. No one knows why, no major disasters, no obvious threats, just a slow, consistent vanishing. Over time, more people left. The town emptied out. And then, one day, the record stopped. No one could find property deeds. No mention in train logs. No postmarks. Just gone. But every so often, someone finds a photo, a newspaper clipping, a postcard, and in nearly every image, a figure in the background. Too tall, hat too wide, face lost in shadow. Some theorize that the village made a deal long ago offering one child every generation to keep her away, and when the town refused to give more, she took all of them. Others believe the town was never real to begin with, just a memory she planted, a place you only remember once you've seen her. You stop looking in mirrors altogether. You tape over the ones you can't move. You hang bells. You carry salt. You sleep with one eye open. And still, You hear it. Sometimes not at night. Sometimes not outside. Sometimes in your own thoughts. That slow rhythm, that ancient lullaby. Po, po, po. You're in the school library when it happens again. It's quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where even the soft thump of a page turning sounds like an earthquake. You're there after class, trying to finish an essay on Meiji-era poetry. But your eyes keep drifting. Not to the window this time. To the corner. That one corner at the far end of the library. Right by the bookshelf no one ever seems to browse. The one with local history books that look too dusty to open. You feel it before you see anything. That sinking pressure in your gut, like the air just got heavier, like your heartbeat started treading water. You glance up, and there's a shape. You only see her skirt white, unmoving trailing just beyond the edge of the shelf. Not walking, not swaying, just waiting. You stand slowly, quietly, trying not to draw attention. Even though there's no one else around, you take a careful step back. And then the sound. Not from your left, not your right, from behind you. Po. You spin. Nothing. But when you turn back to the bookshelf, she's gone. There's a particular variant of the legend from Gifu Prefecture Rhone that doesn't get passed around much online, but it floats between families like a cautionary lullaby. In that version, she doesn't lure you outside. She lures you deeper and into buildings, into stairwells, into closets. The theory is that once you hear her in more than one place at once, front, back, above, you're already inside her reach. It's not about distance anymore. It's about volume. This version is chilling because of what follows. Once someone hears the sound from 3 directions, they begin to lose their voice. Not overnight, slowly, over days, until they can only hum. Like her. And in one dark telling, a boy who reached that stage was found humming to himself in a supply closet, eyes wide, face tilted upward, at nothing. The only words he said before he was moved to a care facility? She likes the corners best. You're beginning to feel it too. That slight hesitation before speaking. That itch in your throat that never quite goes away. Like your voice is being slowly unwound, one syllable at a time. You practice saying your name every night, just in case. One night, your cousin calls again. She sounds out of breath. She was at the train station. You ask her to slow down. I didn't see her, but the doors opened and no one was there. Just a reflection, just that sound. She tells you something you already feared. She's not hunting anymore. You pause. Then what is she doing? Your cousin doesn't hesitate. She's waiting. That word sinks into you like a cold stone. There's a strange tale from Hiroshima about a woman who kept seeing tall figures in crowds. At the bus stop, at the grocery store, at the park, she would blink and the figures would vanish. But each time, they looked more like her. Same coat, same purse, same eyes. Eventually, she stopped leaving the house. But neighbors began seeing her walking at odd hours, standing in the middle of intersections, waving at nothing, except it wasn't her. One theory says that after a while, Hachishakusama doesn't just follow you, she begins to become you, to wear your routine like a second skin, not for camouflage, but for proximity. The closer she can become, the harder it is to tell where you end and she begins. This matches what's written in one obscure Buddhist interpretation, that some spirits don't kill you outright, they soften you first, hollow you, let you rot inward, until you're nothing but a shell. A walking echo. Back at your aunt's, things escalate. The bell charm on your windowsill rings every night now, not loudly, not rhythmically, just one faint chime, as if to say, still here. The salt refuses to stay where you put it. You pour it in a neat line, and the next morning it's scattered in a curve. You try again, only to find it gathered in small, crescent-shaped piles, like footprints, but vertical. The worst moment comes one afternoon when you're brushing your teeth. You lean toward the mirror, eyes blurry from sleep. You raise your head, and behind your reflection no joke, no metaphor, you see the outline of a hat. Not directly behind you, higher, at an impossible angle. You whip around. Nothing. The hallway is empty, but your reflection is still facing away, just for a second, and then it matches again. You leave the bathroom without rinsing your mouth. Now you know why people in the old stories go quiet. It's not just fear, it's not just shock, it's fatigue, because running doesn't help, prayers don't stop her, salt delays her, bells warn you, mirrors deceive you, but nothing ends it. Some say the only way out is to forget her, fully, utterly. Let the fear slip from your memory like a dream. But no one has ever done that successfully. Because even if you forget, someone else might remind you. And the moment you remember, so does she. That's why these stories persist, not to warn you, not to save you, but to keep her fed. She survives in the telling. And now, you've told no one. But you've thought about her. A lot. Which means, she knows. The school announces a sudden closure. A short break, they say. Something about structural inspections and weather damage. But no one you ask remembers any storms. No one's seen damage. The teachers seem tense. The principal avoids the halls. Then you hear the rumor. A girl in the grade above yours went missing. Her school bag was found inside the nurse's office, open, neatly placed on the cot. Her shoes were left facing the door, just like the traditional funeral custom. No note, no farewell, just silence. You don't know her, but your stomach twists all the same, because you already know what took her. And the worst part, you know she didn't fight. There's a lesser-known version of the legend passed down in some Shinto shrines near Ibaraki that speaks of invitation. The idea is simple. Hachishakusama doesn't chase, doesn't drag, she invites. She places objects in your path, mimics voices you trust, leaves doors ajar. If you follow, if you step through that last threshold, she considers it permission. Some say she marks your home first. Others say she only needs your gaze, but all agree. Once you see her clearly, you've already agreed. The invitation isn't verbal. It's subconscious. A door in the dream, a hand in the mirror, the sound of your name said just wrong enough to pull you closer. There's even an old prayer knot used anymore that's meant to cancel an unwanted invitation. But it only works if spoken before the third po. Most forget that part. Most don't make it that far. You begin to notice the doors now. Closet doors, back doors, even cabinet doors. They never stay shut. You close them, and they click open a few minutes later. Not slammed, not creaked, just gently unlatched. One night, you hear your name spoken softly from behind your bedroom door. Not your aunt, not your cousin, not even human. It's your voice, but stretched, flattened, like someone imitating you after forgetting how a mouth works. You don't answer. You whisper, "I don't accept." But the door still opens half an inch. At school, a janitor tells you something strange. He's seen tall shadows in the stairwells. At first, he thought it was his age eyes playing tricks. Then he saw the same shadow reflected in the gymnasium's polished floor. No one else around. Just him and the mop. And the echo of a soft hum he couldn't place. He leans closer and says, "She likes the third floor best. Don't ask why, she just does." Then he walks away. You never go to the third floor again. There's an old video once posted on a forgotten forum that's become infamous among urban legend circles. The video is grainy, VHS quality, shot in a countryside home, dated around 1987. A young boy is playing in the garden. His mother films from the porch. She laughs as he chases a butterfly. Then she goes quiet. The camera lowers slightly, and in the background, behind the low stone wall, a figure rises. Tall, white dress, wide-brimmed hat, not walking, not standing, just rising. The tape cuts. In the following frames, the house is empty. No boy, no mother, just static and a faint sound one that was difficult to isolate. But audio experts claim the frequency of the final seconds matches the human voice at a slowed down register. 3 syllables. Measured. Po, po, po. Your cousin sends you a package. Inside, a stack of old newspaper clippings. Faded, yellowed, all in Japanese. Most are from rural towns with little online presence. But the pattern is unmistakable. Each one mentions a missing child. Each one has a grainy photo attached. Each one, if you stare long enough, has something in the background. A shadow in the trees, a shape behind the house, a faint outline in the clouds. And every photo includes the same chilling caption. The family declined to comment. You start to write a letter, not to anyone in particular, not to be mailed, just to explain. You talk about the whispers, the mirrors, the reflections that lag half a second too long, the way you hear the sound, sometimes not from your ears, but inside your skull. You seal the letter, place it in a drawer, hope you never need it. But part of you already knows someone else will find it. Because she's not just close now, she's comfortable. The smell is the worst part. Like old wood soaked in river water, mold, dust, something sweet beneath it, all rotten flowers or rain-drenched incense. It lingers long after she's gone. Sometimes you find damp footprints on the tile. Bare, too large, long toes. You don't clean them. You don't want to know if they'll return. And then, one night, you wake up, but you're not in your bed. You're sitting in the hallway, facing the front door, holding it slightly open, just enough for a breeze. You don't remember getting up. You don't remember walking there, but you're humming. 3 notes. Po, po, po. Your aunt finds you at the door, still half asleep, still humming. She calls your name 3 times before you blink out of it. The front door swings shut with a soft click, and only then do you fully wake. The house is silent. Too silent. She helps you back to bed without asking questions. But in the morning, all the mirrors are gone, taken off the walls, hidden somewhere deep in the house. She doesn't explain. She just says, "Don't go near the garden." You didn't know there was a garden. Later, you find it by accident. A small courtyard behind the laundry room, overgrown and crooked. There's a bamboo water spout that hasn't worked in years. Moss lines the walls. The air back here is cooler, like the light can't reach it properly. And in the center, a single old stone, round, smooth, stained with something that won't wash away. Your cousin, over a hushed phone call, tells you what it might be. In some areas, particularly around Nagasaki, people call them watchstones, markers of places where something was once trapped. Spirits, curses, or worse, forgotten gods. If the stone is ever removed, the thing underneath starts to rise again. Your aunt must know this. And yet, the garden gate doesn't lock. In the weeks that follow, you start losing time. Not hours, not full days, just seconds. You'll turn on a faucet and blink, and suddenly you're holding a towel. You'll start a sentence and find you've already finished it. You'll begin to human and only realize halfway through. Your aunt says nothing, but you catch her burning bundles of herbs near the entryway. She mumbles words in a dialect you don't understand. She places new charms above every door. And she replaces the front door's salt every single morning. You notice a detail she hasn't. The salt isn't disturbed anymore. It's missing, sifted clean, like someone gathered every grain by hand. There's an incident at a nearby school. A student is hospitalized for hysteria. She claims she was chased by a woman with no face who floated above the hallway tiles. Her voice becomes thin and raspy in the hospital. She keeps saying one thing, over and over again. She bent the ceiling. Doctors write it off as stress. But her classmates say she started acting strange after watching an old video online, one of those forbidden clips that's always taken down, but still shared around in secret. The one that's just static for 6 minutes until a shadow passes in front of the camera. You go back to the library, searching for something, anything, that might offer an answer. And tucked deep into a forgotten shelf, you find a book with no title. The spine is cracked, the pages are brittle, but inside are hand-drawn illustration-synced figures of tall women wrapped in wind, floating above shrines, walking between rice fields. Each one has a different name. Each one is bound by a different rule. One must never be spoken to. One can only be seen indirectly. One is repelled by ash. But there, near the center of the book, is a familiar figure. Wide-brimmed hat, blank face, long white dress that trails into mist. She's not named in the book, just marked with a symbol, a circle broken by 2 vertical lines, and beneath it, one sentence in faded brushwork: "She who measures the living." You stare at that for a long time. You've heard that phrase before, measuring the living. It's an old euphemism for spirits who assess humans like crops, who's too ripe, who's still growing, who should be taken before the rot sets in. Your cousin once joked that she wasn't evil, just a supernatural harvest inspector. Now, it doesn't feel like a joke. There's an idea, shared only in very obscure circles, that Hachishakusama isn't one ghost, or even a woman. She's an embodiment of judgment, not morality, not justice, just timing. She appears when something is almost too late, when you're on the cusp of forgetting yourself, or slipping too far into sorrow, or reaching a crossroads you weren't meant to cross. And she doesn't push you, she waits. If you fall on your own, she simply collects what's left. That night, you try to stay up again. You surround yourself with salt, bell charms, a tape recorder set to capture anything you might miss. You fall asleep anyway. You dream of a hospital hallway, flickering lights, a long stretch of silence. You're barefoot, walking toward a figure in white at the far end. As you get closer, her limbs start to bend, not in pain, but in convenience, like she's adjusting her proportions to meet you halfway. You try to speak, but your voice comes out as a hum. 3 syllables, rhythmic, unavoidable. Po, po, po. You wake with a jolt. It's morning. You're in your bed. Everything looks normal, except for one thing. The stone from the garden is at the foot of your bed, and beneath it, a wet, crumpled paper charm. Your aunt doesn't speak when she sees it. She just lights more incense. But you notice the look in her eyes. She's not surprised. She's resigned, like she knew this was coming, like she knows she can't stop it anymore. You try to return the stone to the garden. You wear gloves, wrap it in cloth, carry it like something poisonous. The weight of it is wrong heavier than it looks, like it's resisting being moved. But you manage. You lower it back into the mossy earth, even whisper a quiet apology. As soon as it's down, the wind picks up. No trees sway, no leaves scatter. Just wind, curling unnaturally through the garden walls, like breath through teeth. You back away, careful not to turn your back fully. You've learned not to do that anymore. Inside, your aunt's already closing the blinds. She won't open them again for a week. Over tea that night, she finally speaks. "When I was little," she says, "I saw her too. You stop breathing." She doesn't look up, just stirs her tea, slowly, as if she's remembering something with her hands more than her mind. "I was 10. My brother went missing. I saw her in the hallway the same night. My parents told me it was a dream, but she was too tall to forget. You ask what happened to her brother. They found his shoes on the roof. You want to ask more, but the look in her eyes stops you. Not fear, not sadness, just inevitability. And here's a detail that comes up in only a few surviving tales, ones mostly passed along through old women and temple caretakers. The idea that Hachishakusama doesn't simply appear to a chosen person, she appears to the family line. A generational echo, skipping sometimes, waiting, testing, watching children to see who's most susceptible. You weren't her first, and you won't be her last. In folklore circles, this is known as a line cursi, haunting that selects bloodlines over geography. Once you're marked, moving won't help, hiding won't help. Only the spirit decides when the haunting ends. Or, more often, if. That week, you begin seeing her more frequently, always at a distance, always still. The end of the street, behind a vending machine, reflected in a window that doesn't exist in your house. One morning, you glance at the neighbor's roof tiles and see her crouching there, hands flat, hat tilting slowly as if in greeting. Your heart skips, but you don't scream. You simply close the curtain and whisper, "Not yet." You start recording yourself at night. Not with a camera, with audio, a small tape recorder, hidden near your futon. You don't listen the first few nights, just let it run, gathering whatever might be there. But on the fifth day, curiosity wins. You hit play, and for the first 10 minutes, silence. Then, soft breathing, not yours. Too slow, too tall. Then, footsteps, not on wood, on tatami. Then a sound that chills every nerve in your spine. Poe. You turn off the tape. You don't need to hear the other two. That night, your cousin calls. She says she's been keeping a journal, writing down everything she dreams, every time she hears the sound, every glimpse. Then, 3 nights ago, she dreamt of someone else's house, not her own, yours. She describes the layout, the bathroom hallway, the slanted beam over your bed, the garden. You never told her about the garden. She doesn't ask questions. She just says one thing. She's linking us again. There's a theory in obscure yokai studies that some spirits form net spiritual webs between witnesses. Once someone speaks her name to another person, they become tied together, not out of malice, but necessity. Like a spider web needs anchors, the spirit uses those connected to strengthen her reach. It's why the tales spread so easily, why people pass them around even when they swear not to. The more people you tell, the stronger the pull becomes. So now, you and your cousin, you're both part of the same thread, and she's watching from its center. That night, something new happens. You don't dream. You fall into a void-heavy, scentless, timeless. And when you open your eyes, you're standing in the garden, barefoot. The stone has been moved again, but not by you. It's split now, a thin crack down the center, like someone cleaved it with a blade made of wind. You look up, and there she is, closer than ever, no longer behind trees, no longer reflected in glass. She stands beneath the eaves, inches from your face. You can see the outline of her chin now, pale and soft, but her face is still mostly shadow. The only thing clearly visible is her hat, tilted slightly, like she's trying to understand you. Then, slowly, gracefully, she lowers herself. Not like she's crouching, like she's folding, until her face is almost level with yours. And in the softest, slowest whisper, she says, "You're almost ready." Then she vanishes, like steam. You wake up in your bed, your sheets damp with garden dew, and in your hand, a piece of the stone, still warm. The warmth of the stone fades slowly. You hold it until your fingers ache, afraid of what might happen if you let go. The surface is smooth, unnaturally so, like it's been polished by more than weather. It hums faintly in your hand, a sound too low for your ears, but somehow still there, like the vibration of something ancient trying to speak in frequencies older than language. Your aunt finds you sitting up in bed, eyes wide, hands clutched around the fragment. She says nothing, just kneels beside you, places her hands over yours, and begins to pray. You don't understand the words, but you understand the tone. Final, resigned, almost grieving. She leaves the room in silence, and for the first time in days, you're truly alone. Not in body, in mind, because you can feel it now. Her presence, not watching, not chasing, waiting. There's an eerie little version of the legend from Akitaoni passed between children more than adults. In this tale, the tall woman doesn't take you when she appears. She doesn't need to. Instead, she leaves pieces of herself, tiny fragments, a sliver of her shadow in your reflection, the echo of her voice in your cough, a movement in your hand that wasn't yours. And when you gather enough of her, you become her. In this version, she's not a ghost or a demon. She's a condition, a slow inheritance passed down like a virus of form and gesture and sound. And once the transformation is complete, you go to wait in someone else's corner. You begin checking your hands, the length of your arms, the lines on your face. You don't know what you're looking for, only that something is off. Your reflection starts to feel borrowed, familiar, but only in pieces. Your smiles don't look like yours anymore. Your posture bends when you're not paying attention, like you're mimicking something too tall to stand like a person. The bells no longer ring. The salt doesn't shift. Even the paper charm from the monkson's heavy with invisible weight now feels light, like it's been emptied. She doesn't need to test you anymore, because she knows. Your cousin calls in a panic. She was in the hallway. You ask, "Where?" She says, "Mine." The call cuts out. You call back. No answer. You try again. Voicemail. You text, but the message hangs in the cloud of unreadness for hours. Finally, she replies, "Just a photo. A piece of paper torn from a notebook lying on a wooden floor." In shaky handwriting, "She doesn't want me anymore. She wants you. You stop going to school. Your aunt doesn't protest. Instead, she takes you to a woman in a nearby town, an old exorcist who lives behind a stationery shop. You enter through the back, past shelves of faded ink and forgotten paper. The air smells like cedar and ash. The woman doesn't greet you. She just stares for a moment and then says, "You've seen her face." You nod. She sighs. "Then I can't remove her. But I can remind her." You don't ask what that means. She hands you a charmed ink on rice paper and tells you to place it under your pillow. You must not dream tonight. If you do, she'll speak. You return home and obey. But sleep comes hard. Thick, velvet, crushing. And in your dream, you're not in your bed. You're in a room you've never seen. Small, silent, surrounded by windows, but all of them covered in fog. In the center of the room, a mirror. You try to look away, but something forces your gaze. And in the mirror, you don't see yourself. You see her, not her hat, not her dress, her face, pale, hollow, not quite human. And she's smiling, not cruelly, not warmly, just knowing. Then she opens her mouth, and you wake with a scream. The charm under your pillow is burned to ash. According to one of the stranger interpretations of the legend rare, academic, and published only once in an old occult journal, Hachishakusama is not a being at all. She's a threshold, a liminal space, an echo between what you are and what you might become if you lose too much of yourself. Her form is symbolic. They say height, representing spiritual distance, facelessness, reflecting identity loss, her sound marking a countdown to erasure. This version suggests she doesn't take people. She waits for them to fall. And when they do, she simply becomes the shape they leave behind. That morning, you find your closet door open again. Inside, 3 perfectly folded dresses. White, long, not yours. You back away, trembling. They weren't there yesterday. You don't touch them. You don't need to. Because now, you remember. You've dreamed of them before, hanging in a hallway that wasn't yours. waiting to be worn. You spend the day pacing, praying, whispering apologies to air that feels too thick. And when night comes, you don't lie down. You sit, facing the mirror, a candle burning beside you. And you whisper, "I know you're not here to hurt me." The mirror stays dark, but your breath fogs the surface. And slowly, carefully, 3 letters appear in the condensation. P-O, P-O, P-O. The letters vanish as quickly as they came. You sit still for a long time, candle flickering, unsure if you're breathing or holding your breath out of habit. The mirror is just glass again now, harmless on the surface, but it hums beneath. Not a sound, exactly more like a presence, like she's still on the other side, fingertips against the glass, waiting for the next fog to form. You back away slowly, and from the corner of your eye, the closet door closes by itself. In folklore circles, particularly those that cross-reference old Japanese and Korean ghost stories, there's a belief that mirrors are not just tools, they're thresholds. They reflect what the world shows and what it hides. And once something crosses through a mirror once, it's shown its true face, it becomes harder to push it back. You wonder if that's what just happened. You didn't summon her. You invited her. And now, she doesn't have to knock. You start noticing something new. Patterns. 3 knocks at the door. 3 flickers of the hallway light. 3 pauses before the shower turns hot. 3 birds on the power line outside your window. Every time, your heart skips, because you know what comes in 3s. But then, one night, the pattern breaks. It starts with 4 knocks. You don't move. Then comes the humming 4 notes now, slower, offbeat, as if she's waiting for a response. You hear her say your name, perfectly, no distortion, no delay. Just your name, spoken in your voice. And then she says something new. "Are you tired yet?" Your cousin messages you after midnight. No words, just a photo. It's her ceiling, or maybe a school's. A square tile has fallen through. In its place is a circle of black soot, like something pressed against the inside, waiting for the thin barrier to break. Your cousin's message follows. She's not knocking anymore. She's looking. You want to tell her you're sorry, that you may have brought this to her, that every time you speak about it, the story grows a little sharper. But the message won't send. You try again. Still nothing. The app crashes. And when you open your contacts, your cousin's name is gone. Not blocked. Erased. In old legends from the northern regions of Japan, places where the snow covers entire towns for months, Hachishakusama is described differently. Still tall, still pale, but always quiet, and always arriving in winter. Locals used to say that if the snow stops falling for exactly 13 seconds, and everything goes still, no wind, no bird calls, that's when you should stop walking. Stand still, close your eyes. Because if you keep moving, you might find yourself walking beside her. And if you open your eyes, you'll realize you're not outside anymore. You're between, and there's no clear way back. Your dreams grow stranger. You're walking endlessly, barefoot on warm stones. There's mist everywhere, and in the distance, a temple bell rings. Not loud, just soft enough to make your bones notice. As you walk, you see shapes ahead, tall ones, dozens of them. Each one wears a hat. Each one is still. Each one is facing away from you, but you know they're all watching. Not with eyes, not with faces, just with attention. And then one turns. She doesn't speak. She simply raises a hand, and your feet stop moving. When you wake, your sheets are wet with dew again. You try to burn the piece of the broken garden stone. It doesn't work. It doesn't even heat up. Your aunt tells you no fire will take it. It's part of her, she whispers, and now it's part of you. You bury it instead, deep beneath a tree in the park. The next day, it's back on your windowsill, dry, clean, waiting. That's when you try the only thing left. You go back to the temple. You don't tell your aunt. You don't tell anyone. The monks recognize you. They don't greet you, don't offer incense. One simply says, "She's almost done measuring." You ask if there's a way to stop her. He just shakes his head. You lasted longer than most. Then he hands you something you didn't expect. A bell. Simple. Brass. Old. But not like the ones you've used. This one has no clapper. It cannot ring. You look confused. He answers the question you don't ask. It's not for sound. It's for reminding. When she forgets herself, this helps her remember what she was. You hold it tightly all the way home. That night, you place it beside your pillow. You whisper to it before sleeping, "Remember what you were. Let me remember what I am." And for the first time in weeks, your dream is different. You're not in the garden, not in the hallway, not in the fog. You're sitting by a river. It's quiet, peaceful. Across the water stands a woman in white. No hat, no shadowed face. She's not tall. She looks normal, soft, tired. She raises her hand not to reach for you, but to wave. And for the first time, you feel something that terrifies you more than anything else. Pity. The next morning, the bell is gone. You search everywhere beneath your pillow, under your bed, behind the curtains. Every drawer, every pocket, every corner of the room is turned over twice. It's just vanished. But something is in its place. A single black hair, long, thicker than yours, laying in the exact center of your pillow. You pick it up and realize it's not coarse like human hair. It's smooth, like silk thread pulled from something not entirely alive. You burn it immediately. It doesn't resist. It turns to ash almost too fast. But the smell lingers: damp wood, dust, and the faint sweetness of something that's been buried too long. In some of the most obscure telling stones passed between retired shrine maidens and rural herbalists, the bell without a clapper is more than a token. They call it a memory anchor. It's not meant to protect you. It's meant to protect Hearth, woman she used to be. If placed near someone she's marked, the anchor can slow her down, remind her of whatever humanity once lingered beneath the height and the silence. Some say, if used at the right time, it can even cause her to weep. You never saw tears, but you saw her face. And maybe that was worse. Things grow quiet in your house after the bell disappears. Not peaceful, just paused, like everything is holding its breath. The salt no longer clumps. The closet stays closed. The mirrors, if there are any left, remain dark. But it doesn't feel like safety. It feels like a storm about to blink. Your aunt tells you she's going away for a while. No reason, no specific destination. She leaves a charm taped above your bed, a final gift. It's faintly warm to the touch. When you thank her, she just says, she doesn't follow people. She follows weight. You ask what that means. She looks at you sadly and replies, "You carry too much now. You try to be normal for a day. Really try. You walk around the neighborhood, buy melon bread, smile at a cat, sit in the park and pretend you're just someone who read a scary story once and let it get too deep into your head. But then the clouds gather overhead, not storm clouds, just that dim, colorless weight that hangs low like a lid. And you feel her, even in the open, even in daylight. Your shadow stretches too far behind you. It doesn't match your movement. And when you finally make it home, you realize you're not tired. You're rested. And that's the worst part, because it means she's no longer resisting. She's ready. There's a rumor, told mostly online now, about a girl who survived her. Actually survived. Lived a full life. Grew old. She never spoke publicly, but in a brief interview, her daughter mentioned one strange detail. My mother had to sleep with the windows open, even in winter. She said it was the only way to keep the dreams away, that if the room stayed sealed, the sound would echo back inside her skull and never stop. This is the kind of detail you can't verify. but it feels true. You begin cracking your window every night, and on the fifth night, you hear the sound again. Not loud, not threatening, just soft, measured, like a breath brushing against wind chimes. Po, po, po. You don't flinch. You simply whisper, "I remember." Then comes the night of the final visitor. Not her, not a monk, not your cousin, a man you don't recognize. He stands outside the house just past midnight. Not tall, not strange, just a man in an old suit holding a plastic bag. You watch from the window, too afraid to speak. He doesn't knock. He simply places the bag by the door, bows, and leaves. Inside the bag, a small wooden box carved with symbols you recognize from the temple. And inside the box, a second bell, identical to the first, but this one rings. You touch it, and the sound feels like a heartbeat echoing in your ribs. No note, no message, just the bell. You sleep with it in your hand, and your dreams vanish. Here's where things shift, in both legend and reality. Some stories say that if you survive her, that is, if you've seen her face, heard the sound, carried her mark, and still wake up the next morning with all your thoughts intact, she lets you go. Not out of kindness, out of boredom. You're no longer interesting, no longer fragile. She likes the soft ones, the fearful ones, the ones who look out the window every time. And once you stop doing that, she moves on to the next hum in the hallway. Your cousin finally messages again. No words, just an emoji. A bell, then a second message. She skipped me. You want to believe it's true. You want to believe you saved her. But that's not how the story works. She wasn't spared. You were chosen. And now, you understand the final therion whispered between those who've made it through. The people who survive her, they become part of her. Not monsters, not ghosts, but storytellers, witnesses. You tell the story now, even if only to yourself. You keep her alive by remembering. And every time someone hears her name, feels the air shift, or the wind hum 3 long syllables, they pass it on again. And so she grows, quietly, patiently, measured. You live quietly after that. No more dreams, no more shadows out of place, no more wet footprints or cracked mirrors or voices that sound just like yours. The bell stays near your bed, and you never let it gather dust. Every few days, you ring it not out of fear, not even out of habit, but because you want to remind her that you remember. And maybe, somewhere, she remembers you too. You visit the garden less and less. It's still there, but something about it feels different now. Lighter. The moss has begun to grow over the cracked stone. The bamboo spout has started dripping again, like water's been flowing all along, and only just remembered how. Sometimes you sit near it and listen, not for her, not for the sound, but for silence. And when the silence holds steady, you allow yourself to breathe a little deeper. You never touch the stone again. You've learned some things don't need to be disturbed twice. One afternoon, you receive a letter, handwritten, no return address. Inside, a single sheet of rice paper, folded with care. On it, one sentence, written in beautiful, careful brushstrokes. She is tallest when the moon is high. No signature, but you recognize the handwriting. The old monk, or someone who remembers his voice. You pin the letter to your wall, not as a warning, as a note to yourself. She's still out there, somewhere, watching someone else. In one of the final versions of the legend told, quietly in a single mountain town in Naganote, say Hachishakusama never truly leaves a person she's chosen. She simply steps back. She becomes quieter, more distant, no longer a looming shape in the hallway, but a whisper in your choices, a shadow in your hesitation. When you doubt yourself, she tilts her head. When you turn the wrong way down a path, she watches with quiet interest. And when your voice wavers, just a little, she hums softly, to let you know she's listening. You grow older. You move out. Different city, different air. You make new friends. Most don't know the story. You don't tell them. Not because you're afraid of spreading it, but because the story isn't over. It just shifted. You notice yourself glancing at reflections in subway windows, listening to patterns in the sound of vending machines, watching the shadows of tall buildings as they stretch in the late afternoon. Not paranoid, just aware. You know she could be behind any one of them, but she hasn't spoken to you in years, and that silence means everything. There's a day, years later, when your cousin visits. She's different now, calmer, stronger. She brings you a small gift, a music box. When you open it, it doesn't play a melody. It plays 3 soft chimes, not musical, just measured. You ask her if she hears it too. She nods once, then smiles, tired but real. I think we'll always hear her, a little. You wind the box once more and let it play again. You don't mind the sound. It's not haunting. It's just a reminder. And one night, long after you've stopped thinking about her every day, long after the charm has faded and the bell no longer rings clearly, you dream again. You're back in the garden. It's no longer overgrown. It's beautiful now, clean, lit by pale moonlight. You're not alone. She's there, but not like before. No hat, no wind, no humming, just a tall woman in a white dress, standing by the bamboo spout, hands folded. You approach her not afraid, not unsure, and for the first time, you speak first. Why me? She doesn't answer. She simply steps aside, letting you pass. You walk beyond the garden, into the trees. The dream fades, and when you wake, your pillow is dry. The bell is still, and the house is quiet. There are no more sightings in your life, no more knockings, no more photo fragments, but the story stays with you because you carry it now, and on rare occasions, someone will say something that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. A whisper, a phrase, a distant echo, po, 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 and in those moments, you don't run, you don't scream. You simply remember the garden, the silence, the moment she stepped aside, and you smile, not because you won, not because you were lucky, but because you walked through it and came out whole, even if a part of you will always belong to the shadows. Wind down 300 words. So now, as you lie there in the stillness, let the hum of her name fade into something gentler. No more shadows at the end of the hallway. No more long silhouettes outside the window. Just the slow hush of air through the curtains and the soft creak of floorboards settling into the night. If she ever was there, she's not anymore. And even if a sliver of her lingers in old reflections, in lullabies told sideways, in the pattern of dreams you forget by morning, it's nothing you need to fear now. You've walked through her silence. You've held your name close. You've remembered who you are, even when she tried to measure something else. Let that be enough tonight. Let the tale curl up around you like a heavy blanket. Soft, still, gone. And if you ever hear the 3-note hum again, years from now, in some hallway half lit by moonlight, just smile gently and whisper, "I remember." Then close your eyes and let her pass. You never knew his name. Most people didn't. He was just the foreigner in the story. Young, loud, too confident for his own good. Came to Japan for the scenery, the nightlife, the shrines, and the ghost story, especially those. He found them funny, charming, even. To him, urban legends were just bedtime fairy tale, spooky spice to sprinkle on a vacation. He wanted to film them, document his journey through the scariest places in Japan, post it all online, rack up views. He came to your town with a cheap camera, a rental bike, and a list of places he'd read about on some paranormal blog. Places locals warned him not to visit. Places they didn't even name aloud. He found that funny, too. You remember seeing him once, just for a moment, at the shrine, smiling, filming, talking to the camera like it was a joke. You couldn't hear what he was saying, but you remember the way the wind shifted, the way the leaves stopped moving, the way the cicadas cut off mid-screech. That quiet, that hollow. You knew it meant she was near, and you knew deep in your chest made a mistake. He disappeared 3 days later. Not publicly, at first. Not dramatically. He just stopped uploading. The last video on his channel was titled Hachishakusama. Is she real? It's still there, if you look hard enough. It starts with him laughing, standing outside a bamboo grove. He's drinking canned coffee, pointing toward a weathered torii gate. "This is the place," he says, grinning. "Let's see if she shows up." The rest is mostly wandering. Empty paths, overgrown trails, commentary laced with sarcasm. Then the camera begins to shake. He starts breathing heavily, whispering. You never see anything on screen, but you hear something. 3 soft, rhythmic syllables in the background. Po, po, po. The camera falls. The video ends. The real horror didn't come from the video. It came from the voicemail. His friend back home, someone from his university, leaked the audio later, said it was the last thing he ever received from him. The message starts normally. Heavy breathing, a bit of laughter, maybe nervous, maybe not. But then his voice changes, slower, lower, like someone is squeezing the breath out of him while he speaks. He says, "She's not supposed to leave the village." A pause. Then, "She's taller than I thought." Another pause. Long. So long that you almost think the message has ended. Then, "I think I said yes." The line cuts out with a sharp crack, like the phone being pulled away from his mouth. Police found his rental bike, leaning against a tree just outside the shrine path. Nothing else. His passport, his backpack, his hotel room all untouched. Locals whispered that he saw her properly. That's what changes everything. Some just catch a glimpse, but to see her full height, face and all, that's what seals it. One old man claimed the foreigner smiled at her, said hi, and that's why she followed. There's a Tahlequah and almost forgotten of a merchant in the Edo period who wandered into a forbidden field near dusk. He was tired, half drunk, and decided to sleep beneath the trees. When he awoke, he claimed a woman had watched over him all night, not protecting him, just waiting. He tried to leave. She followed. When he turned to confront her, she vanished. But every night after that, he dreamed of being measured, weighed, evaluated. He began to lose weight, stopped speaking. His family said his body stayed, but his soul had wandered off. They buried him with 7 mirrors and a bell made of stone, not for protection, to trap her reflection. You sometimes think of the foreigner, not because he didn't listen, but because he mocked the silence. He treated the story like a costume, a game, something to peel away for clicks. And Hachishakusama doesn't like to be worn like a mask. You dream of him once. He's standing in the middle of the street at dusk, the light golden and soft. He's not moving, but his arms are outstretched. And behind him, a tall, slow-moving shape unmistakable in its stillness. You don't get closer, because in the dream, you already know he isn't there anymore. Only the shape remains, wearing his shadow like a coat. The next day, you check his video again, but something's changed. The title now reads, "She said yes first," and in the description box, there's a single sentence. She never needed permission, just the attention. You don't go looking for the video again. Not because you're afraid of what you'll see, but because you're afraid of what might change. Titles that edit themselves. Descriptions that rewrite while you sleep. It's like the story is folding itself tighter each time someone opens it. Because that's the thing about her. She's not just content to be remembered. She wants to be reshaped, retold, misquoted, looped into whispers. And you've started noticing something odd in your daily life. She's not hiding in the corners anymore. She's showing up in stories you hear from strangers, kids at the bus stop humming in threes, a girl on the train sketching a faceless woman in her notebook, a cafe menu with a special called Tall Lady Latte, a joke you think, until you see the 3 P's scrawled faintly on the bottom of the chalkboard. Po po po. You walk home that night with your hood up and headphones in, but the silence creeps in anyway. The streetlights flicker not all at once, just in that pattern you've come to dread. 3. You take a longer route, avoid alleys, cross streets without thinking, and still, the feeling follows. Like you're not being chased but escorted. Like she's just out of view, walking parallel, careful not to let your shadow touch hers. Yet, in Tokyo, there's a version of the legend that's gone completely digital. No ghosts in fields, no shrines. She lives in the elevator cameras now. People claim if you press the wrong floor, at the wrong hour, you might catch a glitch of flicker of a tall woman in the corner, despite there being no one there. Others say she sometimes appears in real-time transit footage, always still, always centered in frame, watching the doors open and close as people pass by her without ever seeing her. One thread online mentions an elevator that refused to open on the 8th floor, kept bouncing between 4 and 7. And each time, the surveillance stills showed the same white-clad figure standing between the doors, tall, waiting, smiling just faintly, like she'd already counted everyone inside. The thread was deleted a day later. Back home, your cousin calls again. You haven't heard from her in a while. Her voice sounds steady, but distant. I think she's growing smarter, she says. You ask what she means. She's learning how not to be scary. You're quiet. She's starting to feel normal, like she belongs. And that, somehow, is worse. Because fear warns you, but familiarity lets her in. You try something strange that week, a kind of test. You draw her. Not in detail, just a sketch. A tall outline, a suggestion of a hat, no face. You leave it on your desk, unfinished. You want to see what happens. For 3 days, nothing changes. But on the 4th morning, the sketch is gone, replaced with a different drawing. Same paper, same pencil, but this one's completed. The figure is fully rendered, shaded, standing in your room, and scrawled in the corner, in handwriting that isn't yours, closer now. You burn the paper immediately. In Osaka, there's a popular belief that Hachishakusama isn't just one spirit, but a network, a collective, a family, that she's one of 8 each taller than the last, each bound to a different domain: fields, forests, water, mirrors, dreams, hospitals, phones, and stairs. No one agrees on what the 8th is, but they say if you meet more than one, you don't come back. You stop answering unknown numbers. You turn mirrors away from your bed. You never leave doors open anymore. But it's not fear that drives you now. It's understanding. You get it. She doesn't punish. She measures. She listens for changes in breath, watches the shift in posture, times how long it takes you to forget you're being watched. And when she's satisfied, she taps. 3 soft knocks. Polite, patient, promising. Po, po, po. That night, just as you're drifting off, your phone buzzes. A message from a number with no contact info. Just a photo. It's your front door, taken from outside. You rush to the peephole. Nothing there, but on the floor is a folded piece of paper. You hesitate, pick it up. Inside, a single sentence. I was tall before you were born. You drop it, but you know it's true. She's older than the shrines, older than the stories, older than you could guess. And you've been under her shadow longer than you ever realized. There's something different in the air now. It's not colder, not heavier, just closer. Like the space around you has shrunk half an inch. Like your room, your street, even your skin has stopped being yours entirely. The shadows aren't longer, they're tighter. They wrap instead of stretch. You feel her more than see her now. She's not peeking from behind trees or hovering outside windows anymore. She's just outside your field of view, so close that if you turned your head quickly enough, you might catch the edge of her hat before it vanishes again. But you don't turn. You've learned by now. You don't chase her attention. You wait for her to offer it. And lately, it's all she offers. There's a theory, whispered online and in footnotes of untranslated tomes, that Hachishakusama no longer walks. That her steps became obsolete when we filled the world with glass and signal reflections. One version, rarely told out loud, claims she now floats, not like a ghost, but like a thought. She doesn't move toward you. She exists beside you, permanently, in a layer just a few degrees removed from the visible world, a walking blind spot. And once you realize that, the story becomes much harder to survive, because now she's not arriving. She's always been there, and you simply weren't aware. You feel it most when you're near windows, not because you see her, but because her outline blurs into other things, a lamppost, a coat rack, a tall stranger walking by. Every time you blink, something unsettles. Not wrong enough to scream, just wrong enough to wonder. One day, on the train, a man sits down across from you. He's wearing a hat. Broad, black, classic. You look away, not daring to check his face. But when you glance at the glass, the reflection shows nothing in his seat. Just empty air. You get off at the next stop. The doors close, and you hear 3 knocks echo from the other side of the glass. Po, po, po. You call your cousin again. She doesn't answer at first, but later she sends a voice memo. Her voice is low, shaky. She's not standing anymore. You wait. The message continues. She's floating just off the ground, like her toes forgot what gravity feels like. Then silence. Then just faintly your cousin whispering, "She smiled at me." It's around this time that you begin to notice your dreams are changing again. Not nightmares, just detailed, hyperreal. The kind of dreams where you can smell damp wood, feel the grain of tatami under your feet, count the seconds between raindrops, and always, somewhere in the distance, there's a tall figure, not doing anything, not even looking at you, just standing, observing, like an examiner watching someone finish a test they've already failed. You never wake sweating, never scream. You just wake with a strange phrase stuck in your head. She lives between the blinks. You start testing yourself. Mirrors. Recordings. You film your room at night. Once, you play back a recording and swear you hear breathings low, deliberate, not yours. Another time, the camera footage cuts for exactly 3 seconds, then resumes without explanation. You freeze the frame where it cuts. There's a faint outline near the closet, so faint it might not be there at all. But you know better. In a story from a little-known village in Miyagi, a young woman reportedly escaped Hachishakusama not by fleeing but by mirroring her, standing perfectly still, matching her breathing, mimicking her height by climbing onto a stool, hands by her side. The story says that when the tall woman tilted her head, the girl did too. And that's when the spirit backed away, not out of fear, but out of recognition, as if to say, "Ah, you understand now." You wonder if that's the final lesson, that she doesn't want to take you. She wants you to see yourself as she does, measured, tall enough perhaps, or not. One night, you try it. You stand in your room, barefoot, still. You mimic her posture, hands loose, back straight, no fear. You face the window and breathe in the same rhythm she used to hum. Po, po, po. And in the reflection, behind you, Her shape appears, slowly, perfectly aligned, not reaching, not looming, just matching. And as you blink, she's gone. No sound, no movement, just your breath echoing in your chest, and a strange feeling in your legs, like they're a little longer than they were before. You measure yourself the next morning. It's absurd, but you do it anyway. Barefoot, back against the doorframe, pencil in hand. You mark the spot and compare it to the last one, faded but still visible. Half a centimeter taller. Not much. Barely a growth spurt, but you haven't grown in years. And yet, your sleeves feel a little shorter today. Your shadow falls differently, not longer, just straighter, as though gravity is taking subtle suggestions rather than instructions. You tell yourself it's nothing, but you don't erase the mark. You need to know if it happens again. It's around this time that a boy goes missing in the next prefecture over. Just a headline at first. Local teen vanishes on rural train route. No signs of foul play, no witnesses. Just gone. The strange part? His last social post was a blurry photo. A figure in white, barely visible behind a train platform safety rail. Caption: didn't realize it was this late. She's huge, LOL. Comments closed. Account deleted. News stations dropped the story after 2 days. But it circulates online. Because those who know the signs, those like you, recognize the pattern. You never joke about her. Not once. At school, you overhear a group of younger students whispering near the lockers. They're trading ghost stories. You catch fragments. She's not real unless you believe. She came to my cousin in Aichi. My brother says she floats now. It takes everything in you not to interrupt, not to say, she's always floated, you're just noticing now. Instead, you slip away, because you remember how it started for you with whispers and laughter and the luxury of disbelief. And now you see her shadow in the pauses between syllables. That night, you get a message from your cousin. Just a photo. It's a screenshot of a Reddit thread titled, "What is the creepiest thing you've ever heard in the middle of the night?" One user writes, "Sometimes I hear knocking 3 slow thumps. Always after I dream about mirrors. I don't answer anymore." Another replies, "You might want to move." A third says, "Too late. She already picked you." No one laughs. The thread gets locked. You notice the changes again. In the hallway light bulb that flickers exactly 3 times when you walk past. In the sound of your footsteps no longer echoing as they used to, as if someone is matching your pace half a second later. In the dream you have where you look in the mirror and she's behind you, but the reflection blinks first. You ask yourself the question you've been avoiding. Not, is she here? But, how much of me is left? And you're afraid of the answer. There's a theory shared in tight circles. Urban legend enthusiasts, spirit chasers, former believers. They call it the red line rule. It says there's a point different for everyone where your soul crosses an invisible threshold. Once passed, you're no longer prey. You're a participant. You're not haunted. You're haunted adjacent. You become a lens. Others see her near you, feel her when you're close, like she's borrowing space through you. You might not even know it. You just notice people step slightly to the side when you pass, and no one asks why. You begin to sense that. People giving you a little too much room. Children glancing up behind you. A coworker who jumps when you speak from too close. One day, someone stops you and says, "You remind me of someone," but they can't explain who. You nod. You already know. She's in you now. Not possessing. Not controlling. Just settling. Like dust in a room no one visits anymore. You ring the bell again. The one the monk gave you. It doesn't chime like before. It's muted, hollow, like the sound's been absorbed. You try again. Same result. You place it back on the shelf, and as you do, you notice a handprint on the wall behind it. Not greasy, not bloody, just pressed. Too high, too long-fingered. You don't clean it, because you know it'll come back. In an older variation of the legend, recorded in a now-banned collection of Meiji-era folktales, Hachishakusama isn't said to follow her victims forever. Instead, she passes through them, uses them, marks them with her echo, and once she's done, they become still. Not dead, not missing, just silent. One woman was said to live in a farmhouse for 50 years after being chosen. She never spoke again, never moved beyond a slow, careful shuffle. Neighbors said she hummed sometimes, 3 soft notes, and every spring, children stopped playing outside her house for exactly 3 days. No one knew why. You haven't heard her hum in days, but you've begun humming it yourself. Not on purpose, not out loud, just under your breath. Po, po, po. And once, in the middle of the night, you hear someone else finish the rhythm. A 4th note, soft, high, questioning. You don't answer. You just lie still. Because some questions aren't meant to be answered. Not by you. Not anymore. There's a line you start repeating to yourself. Not as a defense, not even as reassurance, just to feel grounded. She only takes those who follow. It's an old phrase. You're not even sure where you first heard it. A forum post? An overheard conversation? Maybe your cousin whispered it once, back before things got worse. But now it's become a rhythm, like footsteps on familiar stairs. She only takes those who follow. She only takes those who follow. You say it when the mirror fogs, when the closet creaks, when the light flickers 3 times, when you catch yourself staring too long into your own reflection and see something that stares back a half second too late. But one morning, the phrase stops helping. You wake to find the door open again. Not fully, just a few inches. Like someone tall didn't want to disturb the hinges. You lock it every night. You even pushed a chair against it. The chair's still there, but the door is open. And on the floor, leading away from your bed, are footprints. Bare. Too long, not pressed into dust, but drawn faint white lines on the floorboards, like chalk scrawled by invisible fingers. They stop at the window, and vanish. In a particularly disturbing theory found in only one printed essay hand, copied and shared in underground horror circles, the idea is floated that Hachishakusama doesn't just observe. She learns. With every encounter, she grows more nuanced, more patient, more embedded in the natural rhythms of human fear. Early stories describe her as a passive, threatal, visible, inescapable, a force of presence. But now she is quieter, trickier. The theory posits that she's evolving towards something closer to assimilation, not destruction, but merging. She doesn't want to scare you away. She wants you to live with her shadow, to choose her, the ultimate haunting, not possession, not death. Acceptance. You talk to your cousin again, the first real call in weeks. Her voice is thinner, not fragile, just distant, like it's traveling farther than it should. You ask if she's okay. She says, she's quieter now. You say that's a good thing. She pauses. No, I think she's watching something else. You ask, someone else? Another pause. No, I think she's watching me. From inside. You say nothing, because you've been feeling it too. The hum behind your heartbeat, the weight in your arms, the way your spine feels like it's learning a new shape. You don't say it out loud, but you both know the truth. She's in there, somewhere, waiting. There's a video you find one night, buried deep in a video archive. No comments, no title, just a timestamp from 10 years ago. It's shaky footage of someone walking through a forest trail. You can hear them breathing, nervous, the crunch of gravel underfoot, the buzz of cicadas that cut off suddenly. Then, off camera, a voice. Your voice. She only takes those who follow. The footage ends. You rewind it. It's still your voice, but you've never said it out loud. Not until now. That night, your cousin sends one final message. Just 4 words. "She's finished measuring me." You reply instantly. Nothing comes back. You try calling. Her number rings once, then cuts. You search for her name online the next day. No results. Like she never existed. Not just missing, scrubbed. As if she was a test that failed to pass. And now the weight shifts. Onto you. You begin hearing the sound again. Not from outside. Not from the mirrors. From inside the walls. 3 soft knocks. Sometimes in the middle of the day. Sometimes while you're brushing your teeth. Once, while you're sitting perfectly still, and your phone is recording your heartbeat 3 spikes in the waveform, perfectly spaced. You don't share the video. You delete it. You know that sharing it would spread her further. That's how she moves now. Not by walking, by rippling. One morning, you find a map. You didn't draw it. You don't recognize the paper, but it's laid out on your desk, perfectly centered. It's a map of your house. Every room, every hallway, and in red ink, circles. One for each corner of the home. Each window, each mirror, each place she's ever been seen. There's only one spot unmarked, the attic. You didn't even know your house had one. The ladder is stiff, almost rusted shut. You force it open. Climb. The air up there is stale, dry, but not empty. You shine your flashlight and see it. A chair. An old one. Wooden. Unremarkable. But sitting on the seat is a doll. Handmade. White dress. Tiny black hat. Its face is blank. Painted smooth. Its legs are too long. You don't move. Because it's not waiting for you. It's watching something behind you. And from the floor below, you hear it again. Po, po, po. You don't turn around. You learned that rule early, back when the shadows still stood outside windows and left dewdrops on your pillow, back when you could pretend you didn't really believe in her. You step backward instead, 1 foot at a time, your flashlight dimming just enough to cast that doll in silhouette. As you climb down from the attic, the ladder creaks twice, 3 times. She's not above you now. You know that much. You can feel her beneath your house. In the foundation. In the grain of the floorboards. In the air between walls that shouldn't echo but now do. You close the attic. Not to hide it. To mark it. Because now you know where she keeps what's left. There's a local rumor rarely told in cities about villages that were built wrong. Not on cursed land. Not over graves. Just wrong. They were designed with corners facing the wrong way, hallways too narrow, windows that frame nothing but mist, places where direction itself begins to dissolve. In these towns, it said, she doesn't just appear, she roots. And once she takes hold of the shape of a place, she shapes the people inside it. Their backs hunch, their steps slow, their dreams narrow into slivers where white dresses flicker and voices never quite finish sentences. No one leaves. No one asks why. And no one talks above a whisper. You start dreaming of her hand. Not her face. Not her voice. Not even her silhouette. Just the hand. Long fingers, too many joints, skin like wax left too close to a fire. It doesn't reach for you. It hovers. Like it's waiting for permission, like it's letting you decide. One night, you reach out in the dream. Your fingertips brush hers. You feel cold, not pain, not fear, just distance, like your body is somewhere else entirely. You wake up with your hand outside the blanket, curled like you were still holding something. Your nails are longer, by an inch. In certain forgotten temples places unlisted on maps, and only whispered about by dying monks, there's talk of the measured path. It's not a trail, it's a sequence, a way of moving, living, existing so precisely that you might pass beneath her attention undetected. Monks used to train in silence for years to learn it. 3 steps forward, 1 breath, 2 steps back, tilt the mirror, turn the bell, sleep facing west, never hum while looking in glass, never speak aloud your own name on rainy nights. You've broken every rule by now, and you know it. So all that's left is to listen. Your phone stops working properly. It rings sometimes, but never when someone calls. Once, you answer to silence. Then a voice that sounds exactly like yours, but older. It says, "You remember less each day," then hangs up. The call log deletes itself. You check your photos. One of them of your roomies no longer what it was. Now it shows a tall woman in the mirror, blurry, off-center. You didn't take that photo. You don't look at it again. You don't delete it either, because you're starting to need proof. Proof that you're not imagining this. Proof that she's not just a legend, not just folklore. She's a presence. And now, she's using your hands. There's a door in your house you've never opened. You didn't even know it was there. It appears behind the bookshelf in your hallway, just a small wooden panel, with a rusted handle and no visible lock. You open it one day on instinct. Inside, stairs. Narrow, twisting down. Impossible. Your house shouldn't have a basement. But you descend. Carefully, quietly, step by step. At the bottom is a room. Bare. No lights, no windows. Just one wall. And carved into it, from floor to ceiling, in tiny, careful strokes, your name. Over and over. Some of the carvings are decades old. Others are fresh. You run. Out of the house. Into the street. You don't care about the neighbors anymore. You don't care about being seen. You just need air. Distance. But as you pass the corner convenience store, you freeze. Because there, reflected in the glass door not standing, not moving, just waiting, is her. You turn around. No one's there. You turn back. She's closer. Just the hat now. And those hands. Fingers tapping against the inside of the glass. Po, po, po. You drop your bag and walk away. You don't run. You know better now. You walk like you're being watched. Because you are. That night, you stay in a hotel. Bright lights. Crowds. Noise. You think maybe you've broken the pattern. Maybe she won't follow here. But the moment you lie down, you hear the ding of the elevator. You didn't call it. It's midnight. You're on the 7th floor. You open the door to the hallway. Empty. You glance at the elevator just as it closes and see the brim of a hat caught in the narrowing gap. She found you again. She always does. Because she's not tied to houses, not forests, not fields. She's tied to you. The elevator doesn't come back up. Not that night. You sit on the hotel bed with all the lights on, blanket pulled tight around your shoulders. The hum of the mini fridge is too loud. The clock ticks wrong off rhythm, like it's waiting for something. You stay awake until dawn. Not because you're brave, but because sleep has become too soft a place, too easy to slip from. In the mirror across from the bed, you see your reflection. It's breathing when you are, blinking when you do, but it doesn't look tired. In one of the oldest known woodblock prints, referencing the tall woman, a monk is shown bowing before a figure whose head is out of frame. The caption is cryptic, half lost to age. She is tallest when the moon is high. You've seen that phrase before. In the letter, in the garden dream, and now, it repeats in your head like a chant. You check the calendar. Tonight is a full moon. You already know you won't sleep. You return home the next morning, dragging your feet like you're walking through fog. The door creaks open like it's been waiting. The air is colder, despite the summer heat. Everything in your room is exactly where you left it, except the mirror. It's moved, tilted just slightly, now catching the edge of the hallway behind you. You fix it, or try to. But every time you look again, it's angled back, always watching the hallway, always a little too tall in its reflection. You get a package that evening. No name, no return address. Inside, a cassette tape, handwritten label, Temple Night Do Not Play Alone. You hesitate, then dig out the old player from a storage box. You hit play. At first, silence. Then, footsteps. 4 pairs, soft chanting. The monks. You hear the ritual, the mirror, the salt. Then a 5th voice joins in. Not chanting, humming. You press stop, but the tape keeps playing. And just before the final click, you hear her say, "You remembered." Later that night, your cousin calls. Her voice sounds still, not calm, not monotone, just stopped. You ask where she is. She says, "With her." You ask what that means. No answer, just soft humming. You hang up. Then the call rings back. But when you answer, it's just static. Through the fuzz, you hear tapping. 3 soft knocks. You put the phone down and never pick it up again. In an urban myth from Okinawa, she doesn't knock on the door. She drips. A slow, rhythmic leak of water from the ceiling. Always 3 drops. Locals say if you look up and see nothing there are no pipes, no cracks, it's already too late. You've been marked from above. And from then on, your shadow stretches up, not down. You notice it 2 days later. A damp ring on the ceiling above your bed. You place a towel over it. The towel is dry in the morning, but your pillow isn't. You flip the mattress. You sleep on the floor. You sleep less, but it doesn't matter anymore. She's not coming through the ceiling. She's already here. There's a knock at the door that night, 3 times, but it's not loud, not desperate, just polite. You don't answer. You don't breathe. The knocking stops. But then you hear footsteps. Inside, you clutch the bell, the one from the monk, the one that stopped working. You try to ring it. It makes no sound. Then you feel breath on your neck. Not wind, breath, and a voice yours, but from outside your body whispers, "Let me wear you for a while." You don't answer, because the part of you that would answer isn't entirely yours anymore. There's a tale from the 1,920s buried in police reports, never made public, of a woman found wandering the Tokyo backstreets barefoot, smiling, repeating the same phrase over and over. She's taller now. When brought in, she refused to give her name, wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, just hummed 3 notes, then stopped. For good. You dream that night, but you're not alone in your body. You feel her in your breath, in the way your fingers twitch, in the long, slow drag of your own voice through your throat. You say your name aloud, just to hear something human again, and the voice that comes out isn't quite yours. The next morning, there are clothes in your closet you don't remember buying. Long dresses, white, pressed and clean. On the floor below them, a hat, wide-brimmed, still dusted with ash. You don't touch it, but you also don't throw it away, because part of you wants to know what it feels like, to stand that tall, to walk without fear, to hum in a voice so ancient it silences rooms. And that part is growing. You stand in front of the mirror again. You tilt your head, she tilts hers. You blink, she blinks after. And for the first time, she smiles. And for the first time, so do you. Word count, 199. Awaiting continue. Section 23. You stop checking for her now. You don't need to. She's with you in ways that no longer require reflection, knocking, or dreams. She's in the stillness of your footsteps, in the rhythm of your breaths, longer, quieter. She's in the way people pause around you. Their voices trail off mid-sentence. Their eyes flicker over your shoulder before they quickly look away. Some part of you used to want to scream, to shake the truth out of the air like water from your skin. Now you just observe, because you finally understand what she's been doing all along. She's not taking, she's teaching. There's a belief in a near-forgotten sect of mountain monks that spirits like her aren't sent to punish but to prepare. They don't come for the wicked, they come for the watchful, the ones who sense the thin spaces between this world and the next. And if you follow their signs long enough, if you see them not as threats, but as guides, you become something else entirely. Not cursed, not haunted, changed, not taller in body, taller in awareness. Like your soul has begun standing up inside you. Your phone hasn't worked in weeks. You keep it anyway. It turns on when it wants to, always at the same hour, always when the moon is high. Once, it showed a photo. You didn't take it. It was of you, sleeping, but your face was blurred, erased by motion, as if something had leaned in too close just as the shutter clicked. You saved the image, not out of fear, out of curiosity, to remember that moment where you were half you, half her. People have stopped calling you by name, not because they're scared, because they forget it. You introduce yourself, and 5 minutes later they say, "Sorry, what was it again?" Even your own voice hesitates when you go to say it, like it's not quite yours anymore, like something else is slowly rebranding your presence. You visit the temple one last time. The monks are gone. The gates are open. Dust lines the floor. But in the back chamber, on the altar, lies a folded white dress, fresh, pressed, and beside it, a small scrap of paper. On it, written in the same brushstroke you saw in your dream, tall enough. You leave the dress there. You don't take it. Not yet. But you understand what it means. It's not an invitation. It's a graduation. In an alternate telling of the legend, rarely shared aloud, there's a final phase. After the sightings, after the dreams, after the humming, she stops appearing entirely. Not because she's gone, because she's finished. The person she once stalked no longer draws her attention, not because they escaped, but because they've merged. They walk her paths now. They cast her shadow. They choose who to hum near. They become her echo. Your cousin sends you a single photo, no text. It's a foggy garden. A single tall figure walking away from the camera. Her back is straight. Her dress is white. But the hat? It's different. Not wide-brimmed. It's yours. You stop sleeping like you used to. Your dreams aren't dreams anymore. They're visitations. You stand in old gardens. Sit beside rivers that flow backward. Walk through streets where everyone is silent but aware. And she's there, not guiding you, just watching, as if to say, "You're almost ready." And the strangest part? You start to feel grateful. You hum often now. 3 notes. Never more. It soothes you. It soothes others too. You see it in how they relax, how their eyes unfocus slightly, how they become quiet when you pass. You understand the rhythm, how sound fills space, how you fill space now, not aggressively, just fully. One evening, you walk through your house without turning on a single light. You don't need to. You know where everything is, where every floorboard creaks, where the shadows gather. And in one room, where the moon spills through the curtain just so, you see her, not as a visitor, not as a stalker, just as a reflection. And she smiles and bows, not deeply, just enough to acknowledge. And then she fades. You blink, and you're still standing there, but taller now, not in inches. In being, there's no fear left in you, only space. You don't walk the same anymore. People notice. Your posture has shifted, straighter spine, quieter steps. Your head tilts when people speak, just slightly, the way hers did, the way you used to fear. You don't rush. You move like you have all the time in the world, because now you understand. Time doesn't matter when you're part of a story this old. You visit a childhood friend, someone who hasn't seen you in years. The moment they open the door, their face stiffens. You look different, they say. You smile. They don't. They step aside, hesitant. Their cat runs and hides beneath the couch. You don't take offense. You understand. They're sensing the space around you, that quiet ring that surrounds those who've been marked, not just touched, but finished. They offer tea. You accept. You don't drink it. On the wall of their hallway, you see a mirror. Nothing unusual, but when you walk past, your reflection lags. Not much. Just enough for you to notice. You pause, turn slowly, and in the mirror, for the briefest moment, you see someone standing behind you. Not her. You. Only taller. Slightly blurred at the edges, like something still forming. You blink. It's gone. You touch the frame. It's warm. That night, your dreams return with new clarity. No gardens. No attics. No temples. Just a room circular, endless. Walls made of mirrors. In the center, a single chair, white, empty. You approach it, sit, and the moment you do, the reflections begin to move. Each one showing you in a different form, young, older, faceless, shadowed, barefoot in a hospital gown, dressed in silk, wearing a wide-brimmed hat. They aren't ghosts. They're options. You understand that now. She never was a single person. She was a role, a shape that moves between bodies. And you? You're next in line. There's a lesser-known tradition in parts of Japan, a belief that the tall spirits aren't individuals, but stations, like a job passed down from one soul to the next. Once filled, the previous holder dissolves, returns to sleep, to mist, to myth. But the space remains, always hungry, always waiting for the next quiet one, the next watcher, the next hummer. You walk differently now, not just in stride but in purpose. You go to the places she once haunted, fields, shrines, empty schools, abandoned stations at dusk, and you just stand. You don't speak. You wait. And sometimes, someone sees you. Their eyes widen. Their breath quickens. They hear a sound, 3 soft syllables, not from your mouth, but from the air around you. You don't chase them. You don't follow. You just let them go. Because you know the truth. If they keep remembering, they'll come back. Your cousin appears in a dream. Or maybe it's her. Or maybe it's both. She doesn't speak. She just takes your hand, gently, and places a small slip of paper into it. A name, handwritten. Not yours. Not hers. Just someone. You wake up with the name still in your head. You whisper it. The mirror fogs. The room chills. But nothing comes. Because you're the one who comes now. You try to forget. You go days without humming. You avoid windows. You don't look in mirrors. And for a moment, it almost works. Life feels ordinary again. You laugh. You eat. You text. But then, one evening, as you pass a quiet alley, a small child turns and looks up at you just a glance, and immediately backs away, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, as if seeing something behind you. You smile gently and keep walking. That night, you dream of stairs, endless, stone, wet with age. Each step you take is silent, and somewhere above you, you hear her voice. Not humming this time, just one sentence. The moon's high now, and you understand. It's time. You rise before dawn. No bag, no phone, just the hat. You place it on your head. It fits perfectly. The weight settles on your shoulders like mist. You walk to the edge of town, past the vending machines, past the fields. to the old shrine where the salt no longer clings to the stone. You stand there as the light shifts from blue to silver, and someone just one passes by. They stop, look toward you. You don't move. You don't need to. They turn and run. And you? You smile. Not cruelly, not warmly, just knowingly. Because now, you're the one who measures. You don't return home. Not in the way most people understand the word. Home isn't a place now. It's you. You are the echo in the hallway, the whisper in the window, the shape at the end of the path that doesn't quite step forward, but never fades away. You live quietly, in pauses, in rumors, in the hum that trickles out of old convenience store radios at night when no one's touched the dial. You don't need to speak often. Words are slow. You've become something faster than speech, something older. When children cry in their sleep, parents soothe them with songs and salt and forget why. When teenagers joke about a tall woman outside their window, they check twice when the laughter fades. And when the moon is high and the wind stills just enough to hear yourself blink, that's when they feel you. You don't need to chase. She never did. You wait. And when the ones who hum back begin to notice things they can't explain, reflections that lag, footsteps that echo solo, shadows that grow taller than the person who cast them, you offer no threats. Only presence. A question in the air. A choice without words. Not, will you follow? But, have you already begun? In a village you once visited as a child, a grandmother tells her grandson, when you see a tall woman, be polite. If she smiles, bow. If she knocks 3 times, never open the door. But if she hums, she pauses. Hum back only if you're ready to leave something behind. The boy doesn't ask what. Some part of him already knows. Children always know. And when you dream now, it's not from a bed. It's from the space just outside their reach. A treetop, a field of still water, a hallway no longer in use. You don't remember your old name most mornings. You remember the shape of the wind, the scent of lavender from a forgotten offering, and the weight of the hat on your head. Light now, comfortable, fitted to your silhouette. There are others. You feel them sometimes, walking slow, carrying quiet in their palms like lanterns. Not an army, not a cult, just shadows like yours. Some taller, some softer, but all chosen, all changed. And when you cross paths, you don't nod. You don't speak. You simply pass through each other like mist. Each of you carrying your own version of the story. Each of you ready to watch the next one begin. You hum, sometimes by choice, sometimes out of habit, sometimes without realizing. 3 notes, always 3, never more. Because the 4th note, that's for the next one. The girl at the window, the boy on the train, the listener curled up under warm blankets, thinking they're alone in the dark, but feeling, maybe, just maybe, that something old has taken a seat beside them. Not to scare them, just to measure, just to see if the story fits them too. And maybe one day soon, it will. Word count, 198. Wind down, 300 words. So now, we drift back. Slowly. The knocks grow softer. The shadows lose their edges. The tall woman steps behind the mist, not vanishing but choosing silence again. You're still here, still breathing, still you, but with something more. Not a haunting, not quite. Just a gentle knowledge now resting at the base of your spine. A taller posture in your dreams, a rhythm you never hummed before, but now find yourself finishing under your breath. Maybe you'll forget it all tomorrow. Maybe you'll laugh about it in the daylight. Or maybe, in a week, a mirror will hold its reflection too long. Maybe you'll pause at a corner and not remember why you turned around. Or maybe at night you'll dream of gardens and stone paths, and a voice you swear you've always known will whisper from the dark, closer now. But it's okay. You're safe. She doesn't want to hurt you. She just wants to see if you notice. And if you do, well, that's the beginning of something beautiful. Or strange, or both. So tuck yourself in. Let your breath slow. You followed the story all the way to its final footstep. You're not lost. You're just in between. And she's already stepped back into the stillness, watching from somewhere beyond the sound. Waiting. Measuring. But for now, you rest. You're safe. You're tall enough. Sweet dreams.